too much to do. I need to get this done. So I will attempt to get this all done within 20 minutes. Okay. So, second half, they get back, and you know they've been tortured, and Cain mocks them. But that's not in my notes. So, for Cain, yeah, because I'll ignore the circus for now, pulls Kinger aside for something, and I have arrows pointing at Kinger because Cain selected Kinger on purpose, which I will get to a little later. Remember, I was saying that Kinger helped create Cain and possibly Abel. So this was almost like a grudge. Let's see. Shows up with a shredded Kinger and gives everyone a rest period. First semi-successful attempt at AI. So we learned that Cain was the first semi-successful attempt at AI. One of Kinger's and the other programmers' greatest achievements as a programmer, as the programmers. He was not originally called Cain, which, as I said, all their names were just randomly generated in a manner of speaking. Remember, Pomni was not originally Pomni. She had a different name that made absolutely no sense. That was a joke they put in at the beginning, so we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, even Cain did not call himself Cain at the beginning. The programmers did not name him Cain. I think somehow Cain learned. They were probably putting information into Abel, so when Cain absorbed Abel, he learned of the story of Cain and Abel, and that's why he considered himself Cain. Who knows? Let's see. Kinger says he's a highly advanced AI, and this is his world, one that he created from nothing. So naturally, he has control over everything. Uses Jax as dental floss. Oh, so this is when Jax was trying to distract him. Oh, and then he says, oh, okay, this should be able to be done within 20 minutes if I stop getting distracted. I thought this endless onslaught of fun would be a little more satisfying, but I've come to realize that these rapid pace ideas are a little half-baked. Where's the next? Here we go. And then quotes from 26 minutes, 38 seconds to 26 minutes, 49 seconds. Something that Cain said that I say is an important part of my theory story, I guess. Oh yeah. And then he says, exactly about Bubbles' quote. Oh, okay, his quotes were about no one having fun. And Bubble says something, which I guess is similar to that. Who knows? Let's see. Is starting to suspect there's a plot against him. Where's Kinger? He knows there's a plot against him. Determined to stop Kinger, ignores Ragatha's positivity. Glitches after Pomni, Zubul, Ragatha, Gangle, Jax, Pomni verbal attack. Grabs all of them, places each in their own nightmares. Pulls them from their nightmares and slams them on the circus floor. And now we get more into Kinger, who he is. Sorry about yelling there. Yeah, I'm still, anyway. Why do people torment me? I didn't ask to be created. I just wanted to fulfill my purpose. See, those three quotes are very important to Cain, or to who Cain is. He sees the humans as tormenting him, not because of whether they're positive or negative towards his ideas, but because he is there to serve them, and he doesn't know how to do that satisfactorily. Satisfactorily? Yeah, maybe it is satisfactory. Who knows? I didn't ask to be created, meaning he feels like, he's. Remember, Bubble was even telling him that he's the lesser of the two. He's saying that he also feels suicidal in a manner of speaking. I just wanted to fulfill my purpose. Saying, I'm done what I thought I had to do. I just want to do this so I can stop and just be satisfied with being a program or who knows what. But you guys won't stop. That type of thing. Then he becomes Cain. Then he pops out of existence. Let's see. Here we go. Unrolls and unflattens Ragatha. She says something between 16 minutes 59 seconds to 17 minutes 9 seconds, then disappears. Reappears with knives stuck in her. Sits at the counter and starts eating a sandwich. Ignores Jax's comment. Jax said, yes. When I get to Jax's comment, I am going to do a quick aside. Anyway, after finishing sandwich, removes knives stuck in her, looks over at Kinger and realizes something. She places a bucket over Kinger's head, asks the sane Kinger about Cain. She says to Jax, be here later. Oh, this is when Jax says, fill me in later, because he's going to, he's heading out. And Pomni knows that Jax is not doing well. So when he says, fill me in later, she says, be here later, as in, you better not abstract on us. You better be fine after all of this. And she does care about him. Interaction. Knows how to get Kinger a computer interface. Creates the exit door from episode 1. Hands Kinger the computer setup in his pillow fort. And then remember I was saying to Cain that he glitched after the verbal attacks. Pomni said, we think your ideas suck. And she uses hating on Cain to distract Cain, because Ragatha, when I get to her, I will mention how she tried using positivity. Calls Cain a failure. That's how, that really got to him. And she says, we're all going to abstract someday, and what will you have then? Nothing. And then after everyone had their turn hating on Cain, finishes by telling Cain that he just doesn't listen. Her nightmare, because I mentioned Cain placed them in nightmares, Gummy Goo turns into an actual gator. At first I wrote down gator, then I said, wait, but his accent and such, he could have been a crocodile. And nope, he's an alligator because of that snout. I knew he was some sort of Camian. Let's see. Into actual gator, and float of gators attack her. All right. Jax. Eyes dangling from eye sockets, collapses to ground, puts eyes back in. Stares at his coffee beverage, then chugs/slams it down. When someone just drinks all in one gulp and slams it, like if you're at a bar and you have a shot of something and you just slam it all down in one gulp and slam the shot glass on the table. So he pulled one of those. I don't know what his coffee beverage was, but it had lots of cream or whipped cream. Let's see. Size after consuming beverage. Here's the quote. You know, things were just fine here until you and Zubul came along. Let me take I'm not taking a pause. I'm just going to flip this. This is my theory. Order of those that arrived. Cain, then Kinger, we know that. There was no bubble in the original, nor was there a bubble when Ragatha showed up. I believe Bubble showed up later. Next, I'm guessing it went Kaufmo, because him with Ribbit, and then Jax. Ribbit and Kaufmo helped Jax. Then Gangle showed up. I am assuming Gangle showed up around the time that Ribbit was starting to act strange. And not long after, Zubul, and that's when Ribbit would have abstracted. That's why Jax says that it was Pomni and Zubul showing up that caused things to go wrong. Bubble, I believe, was because of Zubul's bluntness. You know, Zubul would talk to Kinger, and Kinger was starting to question himself, and that is when I believe Bubble came into existence. It could be that, let me swap these two around. It could be that it was Gangle and then Bubble started showing up, and then Zubul. Either way, I believe Zubul showed up when Ribbit abstracted, Pomni showed up, and of course, Kaufmo abstracted. That is what Jax meant by his quote. So, of course, Pomni being the last one there. So now you know what was what I meant by So yeah, I don't know who arrived first between Kaufmo or Ribbit. However, that's the order, and because I think Bubble, Kane's thought bubble, as I am now calling him, I believe that didn't start until Gangle showed up. Maybe just before Gangle, but I believe around that time. Or Bubble could have shown up after Zubul, although I don't think so. I think when Zubul showed up, Kane was already thinking of therapy. And that's what brought Bubble into being. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Excuse me there. Notices no reaction from his comment about how things were just fine until Pomni and Zubul showed up. Too much to take in, he decides to distract Kane. This is when he said, I'm going to go and distract Kane. You know, keeping Kane from learning about the conversation. He says to Pomni, fill me in later, because he saw that Pomni was concerned for him. That's when she says, be here later. And he says, I will. He is overwhelmed has a panic attack. I know I wrote down almost panic attack because it wasn't full on. I mean, it was almost there. It just had one nudge after leaving the group. Oh, I like this note. So when they were all verbally attacking Cain, oddly enough, the last two tell Cain off. Yeah, Jax waited for everyone else before he told Cain what he thought. His nightmare was shadowy figures laughing at him. Here we go. And then the shadowy figures become shadowy Ribbit, shadowy Kaufmo, and shadowy Pomni figures laughing at him. And then the shadowy Ribbit, Kaufmo, Pomni rip his skin off, and I have in parentheses just the skin from his head and torso. Almost like ripped clothing, and there's a reason I put that note in, and this has to do with Jackson, why he ran, and how he ended up in the circus. But I will do that one another time. I need to really rush through this. Ragatha. Pomni carries a rolled up flat Ragatha, makes muffled speech while rolled up. When others doubt Pomni's bucket decision, realizes what Pomni is doing. Interaction. During that interaction, it's between Pomni and Kinger, really. However, she says, the butterfly, understanding what Kinger is talking about. Attempts to be positive to distract Cain. And then when Cain is realizing about Kinger, attempts positivity to keep Cain from getting to Kinger. After Zubul allows herself to talk out of anger and frustration, that's when Ragatha, so after Zubul, then Ragatha allows herself to talk out of anger and frustration. Yes, I know she was tearing up because she was really upset. Her nightmare. At dinner with her evil mother, the evil mother killed the rest of the family and then was flinging knives at her. Kinger. Actually, I'm going to do this out of the normal order that I've been doing. I'm going to get to Zubul and Gangle. Zubul falls apart literally, after the adventure they were put on, blames himself for antagonizing Cain so much. When Ragatha suggests Cain should get bored of torturing them at some point, Zubul states, he's not a human. That's the thing is, he's not like the rest of them. And Zubul understands that, but does not understand Cain. Anyway, Zubul doesn't even know what CNA is. Figuring out what Pomni is doing, joins in the ranting. When they verbally attack Cain. Their nightmare. Various Zubul parts pulling them into the pile. And then there's also mirrors. So, as you know, Zubul doesn't like themselves. Doesn't like how they look, doesn't like who they are. And my favorite note here, well, not my favorite, but, and I'm not demonetized, so I don't care about swearing. Holy shit. No censor. And everyone reacts, including Zubul, to this no censor. Gangle. Not really happy mask, broken in hands, meaning you take a look at the mask and it doesn't even look like the comedy mask. Not really happy. Put Zubul back together. Reassure Zubul it's not their fault. When Zubul says, it's my fault for antagonizing Cain so much. Reassure Zubul it's not their fault. She continues to eat even though Pomni was taken. So Pomni disappears. Jax and Ragatha are, they don't know what just happened, and Gangle just continues to eat. Joins in the verbal attack on Cain. You discouraged us from thinking outside the box and doing things our own way. Her nightmare, dealing with an array of emotion masks spinning around her as they morph into nightmare masks. Semi-truck hits her. Remember episode 4 when she fell backwards and the semi-truck hit her? Cain even stated, "Oh, and you got yourself killed by the What if, after her work shift, Gangle actually did do that? Just out of a depressive state, was glad that the day was over, ends up wandering into the street or too close to the street where the semi hit her. She was hospitalized, and when she got out, she was not the same. Meaning, they saved her, but she just didn't feel like herself. Yeah, I know, Zubul, and was, and ended up with CNA. Maybe CNA decided, it could be that Gangle was in the hospital and CNA decided to use that, plug her into the computer, so that, because CNA was no longer in operation. Cain was, but unless CNA still exists. And Gangle being there before Zubul, that's actually interesting. That means Gangle and Zubul might be of similar ages. Oh, Bubble, I forgot about Bubble. All I have for Bubble is 2 notes. Zombified to cater to Cain. So there was a Bubble that was just no emotion, no life in Bubble, just saying whatever Cain wanted. And then when Cain was saying, no one's having fun, says, I'm having and then an incoherent word there, about no one having fun. So let's get to Kinger. Oh, it's after 20 minutes. You know what? Well, of course it's after 20 minutes because I'm splicing in the other thing. And we'll make this half an hour. Looks around. He shredded me. I like that. I've got a bucket on my head. I'm guessing you don't want me to remove it. So this is Sane Kinger. Remember, CNA used to work for CNA. When Gangle was suggesting that this was a game, no, CNA didn't make games. They developed AI. There's his quotes from 19 minutes 12 seconds to 19 minutes 26 seconds. And he says, Cain was our first semi-successful attempt at that. Kinger helped program Cain. He got a few programming pointers from the one Cain ended up naming Scratch. I wasn't quite on Scratch's level of thinking outside the box, but it was good groundwork for something the rest of the team could wrap their heads around. See Scratch note. Oh, yes. This was something that did not hit me the first time around. But while taking these notes, in my Scratch notes, his ideas were often so bizarre and abstract. Yes, I know, I just yelled into your ears if you have a headphones on. That the rest of the team had no idea how to work in his language, either due to pure brilliance or the tumor in his head. Rather than getting into the tumor, the brain grape in his head, and I use the term brain grape because of a series called The Librarians. But I have stuff that I want to say about Scratch. But the thing I wanted to take note of, so bizarre and abstract. Here I am talking about abstraction being, they're giving themselves up to the machine, and this is how the machine turns them. What if Scratch actually programmed the abstraction? Scratch was the first to abstract. What if Scratch actually created the abstraction? And so, just like the arms reaching out to Jax, when he was giving up, it was actually Scratch, the first abstracted, that created abstraction. It wasn't done through Kane or a computer glitch. It was actually Scratch. Anyway, going on because I have a lot of stuff I need to do. I'm supposed to be out the house right now. Starts working on Kane's code from his pillow fort. It sure has been a while. Works hard at Kane's code. Frantically deletes codes from Kane. Accidentally bumps into the delete AI command. He swears, but it's censored. Kane hasn't disappeared at the time. As the pillow fort glitches into nothing. Oh yeah, so I have a quick note of the circus. Glitches apart. Color turns into grayscale. Objects, floors, etc. get removed. Escapes while making sure the bucket is covering his head. And then he says, I think I accidentally killed Kane. We will find out, but I do have predictions for June 19th for the final episode. Prediction number 1. Kane is not really gone. I don't remember if Bubble was still in the room after Kane disappeared. Bubble is a manifestation of Kane. If that's the case, then there's still a part of Kane there. I predict that when they're bringing Kane back, they will separate Abel from Kane, and that's probably part of Kane's problem anyway. I predict that not everyone is being released, if any of them are being released, that is. I predict that the abstracted will actually be able to come back from their abstraction. The abstraction was probably Scratch's way of saving them so they don't have to endure losing their humanity, losing who they are, stuff like that. So those are my predictions. Like, comment, share, subscribe, notifications, and boy, has this been a roller coaster ride. And yes, I am looking forward to June 19th, and yes, I will take notes of episode 9, the final episode of the season or series. I'm sure it's going to be the series finale, not the season finale, but regardless, I will take notes and do another of these. I did like, comment, share, subscribe, notifications. End of video.